Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 282. How you folks doing? I hope you're all doing well. The world seems on many different stages not to be thumping along really well, but I hope it's not adversely affecting you and yours. And I appreciate, with all that's going on, you taking a little bit of time to drop on by here at the Moose Podcast. Heard from a couple of you guys this week, some great questions, and I appreciate those questions that keep coming in. One of them was, am I going to have any more folks, guest speakers? Yes, I will. Hopefully the next one, I believe, is going to be next week even. So keep the questions coming. I appreciate it. Also greatly appreciate the support from Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. They keep cranking out orders. Many people are saying, hey, I got my order on a Z9, and when am I going to get it? A couple of things. One, it's not up to Bedford. It's up to Nikon and the supply chain. Things aren't getting any better when it comes to supply chain, in case you had not noticed. At the same time, depending on when you put your order in on any piece of gear, that is not really available. It's kind of like first come, first serve. So be patient. Bedford's is getting stuff out. I know people are getting tons of gear. It's that time of year when people are spending their tax refund money. And Bedford's is the best place. You're going to save 5% by saying Moose, saving that Moose discount. Probably going to have free shipping. And then for most states, a lot of states, no sales tax. So you need the gear. Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Get right into this week's session. Having fun? Jake and I just had a marvelous 3 days at a whole new event, which neither one of us had ever been to. In fact, I wasn't even aware of it until Jake mentioned it last fall. It's the Montana Aviation Conference. Now, this is not an event where we're meeting at an airport or we're flying planes. No, this was indoors at a conference center. And the main thrust of the conference is for pilots to everything from brushing up on new regulations to learning new techniques and exploring new possibilities for their aircraft. For example, the RAF, those folks specialize and help pilots get familiar with wilderness airstrips. A lot of things, something that a lot of people don't know about. There is a Montana Seaplane Association there. A lot of great waterways here in Montana in which a pilot can go explore with their plane. So then what was Moose and Jake doing there when on one side of us, because we had a booth, was people who did paving of tarmacs, and the other side were Lycom engines, and across the way was Phillips Oil and insurance. Well, we're two photographers being there. And that brought up this week's podcast. Jake knew many of the folks there because he's been in the aviation community of Montana much longer than I am, and have been. And I knew a couple of them. And one of the folks, Bob, came over on the second day as we're sitting in the booth and said, "Having fun?" And my response was, "Well, of course." He says, "Yeah, but you're not out shooting." And that brings up a great point. So our booth, what was it about? Well, that was a learning experience in the whole process of having fun. I set it up. We had 5 frames, 24 by 30, that every day we put in new prints. We had a 32-inch monitor that was playing stills and video. And there was just Jake and I there talking to folks and confused the bejiggers out of people. And we kept saying, well, we're just here just to introduce ourselves to the Montana Aviation Group. And that really kind of perplexed people too. And the word fun came up over and over again. Why do you go out and do this? We weren't there to sell prints, and that really befuddled people. And we kept saying we actually end up having to make a sign, not making it up, made a sign that said that our passion is aviation and photography. And we want to go out and have fun with it. Had to spell it out. Now, photography can be that way. It can be, let's take an example. You just got yourself a new Z9. Let's pick on that for a second. And some folks will get that camera, and there's a lot of fun in the purchase. And then they bring it back home, and they pop open that box, and the fun kind of evaporates with the factory air, that great smell that goes away once you open up the box, because now you got to learn the camera. For some, that's not fun. For slightly wackadoo people like me, it's a lot of fun, because the fun comes in the challenge of deciphering what the instruction book says this feature happens to do, and then figuring out what it really actually does, and then determine if what it does is something we need to have happen in our photography. And for some folks, that's just, and understandably, can be hand-to-hand combat. And like I said, wackadoo like me, the fun is the challenge of going through all that, and as far as I'm concerned, succeeding. So having fun, if you ever listened or read any of my books about critters, especially way back when, one of the things I kept saying a lot at the height of shooting wildlife in California, it's endangered critters, was one of the reasons why I thought I got so close physically to critters, because critters just sense I was out there having fun, and they figure that someone out there having fun isn't someone to be worried about, so getting close isn't going to jeopardize their welfare. That oozing of the, really the passion for taking photographs, I think is centerpiece in a lot of success behind the camera. No matter what your genre of photography happens to be, when you're having fun, when you're enjoying it, and I mean, seriously, you're not putting on a smile. It's just naturally there, and your cheeks are sore in the day because you've been smiling so much. That having fun translates into every click you make. And when you're not having fun, the adverse happens. It also translates in your photographs. And a lot of photographers, at least a number that I have come across, especially in the last couple of years, and I always kind of just wrote it off as pandemic blues, but a number of photographers seriously seem to be, for lack of better terms, depressed when they go out shooting. They are not embracing so many things I think you need to. One is that you have the great fortune to first own the camera gear, and then two, able to go out and explore your world with that camera gear. And then lastly, you have the fun and the challenge of bringing back that image. Now, are you having fun? Are you having fun with your photography? Or are you having to struggle? Are you feeling like it is defeating you? Do you feel like you're not being successful? I'm suggesting that if you have any of those kind of feelings, then you should start perhaps by simply turning the tables and start having fun. Having fun, in a large part, means you don't take things quite so seriously, which means if you get a photograph that it doesn't work, everything from the simplistics of, it's not sharp, or you don't like the exposure, to the fact that it just sucks, whatever it happens to be, you realize that it's not the end of the world. You will keep moving forward as a photographer. You will be able to learn from those lessons, and tomorrow will be a little bit better if you learn from those lessons. And then in that process, have fun. Now, having fun has to come from a number of things. One is the simple acknowledgement that you're not an idiot. What do I mean by that? A lot of people, when they are out with their camera, they tend to put themselves down, and they put down their photography when that's not really a good thing. There are always going to be those times where none of us, and I am right there at the head of the table here with this one, are going to come back with the photograph. We're going to simply not bring back that story. I don't like it. It doesn't though change the fact that I still got to have fun in the process and learn from it, and not beat myself up over the fact that I didn't get that picture. Another thing that it's hard for photographers to understand is kind of like, FOMO. In this world of, people don't know what FOMO is, FOMO. It's fear of missing out. A lot of photographers look at social media and they see what others are posting, and they make a lot of assumptions from those photographs, and from that they get FOMO. And then they start getting very, depressed because they're not shooting or not getting those results, or they think that piece of camera gear that they're looking at is. And you got to understand that a lot of the things you see out there is not the reality. Seriously. A lot of the photographs you see out there are vastly cropped, vastly photoshopped, a lot of things going on. So the experience that is being touted with that social media isn't actually the experience that the photographer had at that time. But they want you to feel like they did. And in that process, you got to wonder, are they having fun? What is the point of that photograph that you're taking? And if it's to have fun, as long as you keep having fun, you'll keep doing it. And as long as you keep doing it, you'll keep getting better. And as you keep getting better, you'll have more and more fun. And sometimes that having fun means you go out with others in the process. That camaraderie that comes from photography, from being successful, from experiencing the good, the bad, and the ugly together, it wraps everything up with a big bow. It's always said that after an event, no matter how negative it was, it tends with a little bit of time that the negativity goes away, and you always put up a smile on whatever that happened to be. And that can be true for your photography as well. Go back and look at some of your images that you took 6 months, 8 months, a year ago. Look at some of those photographs that you thought were, not so good. And yeah, some of them won't be as good, but I guarantee you're going to find in that one photograph, you go, wow, I didn't see this. And you're going to find that happy moment. You're going to find that little treasure in your own files, proving that you were having fun. The other thing about having fun, and why I think it's so important for myself, my own photography, is because there are peaks and valleys in photography, especially if you're in the business of photography. And the peak doesn't mean you are making a gazillion dollars, and the valley doesn't mean you're not making any money. That's not the peak and valleys that in the business have ever concerned Sharon or myself. Rather is the peaks are when we're producing content and we're getting it out there, and we're getting feedback, not in the sense of a check, which of course never hurts, it always helps. But when we hear from others that they enjoy what we're doing. Back to the conference, I had 2 folks come up who had bought a copy of my book, Takeoff. And they had never met me except through the book and then the website. And they came up and started talking. And then all of a sudden, they related some of their experiences, and one started sharing their air-to-air photographs that they had been taking. And all of a sudden, the fun is wrapped up in every experience that's going on between that photographer and myself, and relaying back and forth the passions and joys of aviation photography. So having fun can come in many different ways with many different rewards. And that peak is when that sharing brings back those conversations. In the valleys is when the sharing isn't happening, and all of a sudden all the airways go quiet, and you're back to wondering, should I be a photographer? Should I, go and buy a different camera, et cetera, et cetera. So having fun, it is one of those very intangible things in photography that you're not going to see people writing articles about it or doing a Kilby class. It's kind of, should be obvious, but it's not. It's hard to wrap up and give you a recipe to do. You have to find it within yourself. But it's incredibly important that you do. When you're out shooting, when you're behind the camera, when you're moving files, when you're cleaning camera gear, and any other aspect, find that spark of fun in it, and it will keep everything inside of you, your emotions, your passions alive and fed. And that is only can do one thing, and that's your photography will improve. And that's our goal as we go out every time, even small steps. Get out there, have fun, and make those little strides that make our storytelling grab just a couple more heartstrings. You folks have a great week. Thanks ever so much for stopping by. And remember to make every click your story.